Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, Kelly Klass and Jill Skeen.
Well, good morning.
Well, good morning.
How are you today, Jill?
Oh, I'm disgusted and disappointed, and you vote, you get what you vote for, honestly, and so it's really kind of sad. I really thought the Idaho voters would really look at people and the issues and take it to heart, and they haven't. So
I don't know.
It's disgusting.
Maybe they. I didn't
Are
want to
you
come.
kidding me?
I didn't want to come barreling on here,
Really?
sounding like the arrogant sap that so many people think I am.
People can
So I thought,
celebrate, but what are you celebrating?
I'm just going to come on here and play it cool. And how you doing? How are you feeling?
How am I? There's a lot of voters that are upset. I just did a business networking group. I can't tell you how many people there are disgusted. So, I'm sorry, but, I don't know why anyone would celebrate. What are you celebrating? That you have a school superintendent who seems totally unqualified for the job? You have a state treasurer who lost $20 million for taxpayers and was using money that he shouldn't have been using? You have a secretary of state who's probably going to sell our federal lands, or more importantly, change our voter election laws.
My gosh, Jill.
Why are you celebrating?
All of this
Why are you
stuff,
celebrating?
All of this stuff
It's true.
by one person, I don't think so. But actually, I was
By
kind of
one
sort of
person,
referring
but
to the Senate victory by the GOP.
Same thing. They didn't.
7 GOP.
They didn't
Okay.
run on their records. They ran against Obama. So you know what? You get what you want, and you'll get more good luck.
I didn't want to sound arrogant. I just have this one little clip to play.
I don't care. Look at the voters. If you disenfranchise voters, you lie in your ads, whatever. This is what happens. So there you go. You live with it.
Of course, it couldn't be that people are fed up with Obama's policies. That couldn't be it, because his policies are. Anyway, I just have this one little clip.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's just kind of to downplay
a dagger.
what happened
go ahead.
yesterday.
A dagger.
Okay, so there we go. There's my little downplayed clip from yesterday.
Well, good, fine.
So,
so what? So there'll be more gridlock, and you have President Obama who can veto anything. So there you go.
People are just wanting a different direction, like they were when they got the Democratic Senate, and
yeah.
that's how American politics works.
The different direction. The
Now,
stock market go down. The housing market go down. We were the
party poopers when we were coming on here and saying, "Oh my God, look what happened! It's a disaster." But we put up with it for all this time, and now the tide is turning back, and now it's the Democrats who are being the party poopers, and oh my God, it's the end of the world. So you know what? It's just another cycle in American politics.
You know what?
And that's what people do when they are not all that happy with the current policies of the current administration. They choose the other side. It's happened before, and it will happen again.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. This will help you win the 2016 presidential election.
I don't know. That is
but
actually a good point.
It is a good point, because midterms you lose, the party usually loses, and then the next party wins the presidential.
The Republicans better darn well perform now and turn things around.
Pressure?
And make things happen, because they're in the spotlight now. They've been given another chance, so they better darn well perform. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, let's see if they can govern. And their own party is saying that. They better step up and govern, because all they've done is obstruct. All they've done is try to sue, impeach,
when
repeal.
You call it obstruction, we call it keeping things from going to hell in a handbasket. So it depends on your perspective. If you want a socialist America, then yeah, they've opposed that. But they don't want a socialist America. So, how dare we even ever question Obama and his socialistic tactics? But now that the tide may turn again, it's like, whoa.
What would you question?
On the other foot.
Stock market's never been better. The housing, and let me finish so I can just please get this out. The housing market's never been better. Unemployment's the lowest. Gas prices have been the lowest in years. Our deficit is now to 2008 levels. Our GDP has grown faster than it's ever had. We've had 55 months of positive job growth. Yeah,
and
things
yet
are
so many
horrible.
people are out of a job
and
still.
Yet, yeah, no thanks to the Republicans. No thanks to the Republicans who have blocked minimum wage increases, have blocked Paycheck Fairness Act, have tried to block the Violence Against Women's Act. There is so much, let's block the stimulus that would have really brought back the economy, but then take it, photo ops with the stimulus that's helped your district. You know what? Fine. I want to see them govern. Great. I would love it. That would be a nice change of pace. They didn't govern when they took it over after Clinton. So let's see them govern now. That would be nice.
Well, I'll tell you what. We've got until 8:30. By the way, at 8:30, we'll be talking about, I think we're going to be talking about the Habitat for Humanity's Homeless Where the Art Is.
I hope so. It's
coming up this Saturday. Yeah. At 8:40, we'll have Randy Staples in to give us his analysis of the election yesterday. At 9 o'clock, we have Greg Lanning with the Twin Falls City Council for a State of the City. And so, when Greg comes in, it'll just kind of be...
I thought Don Hall switched with him.
For crying out
loud. No. We got an email. I think Don Hall's coming in.
Got an email?
Yeah.
I don't think I got that email, unless it was lost. Well, whoever. It'll be Don Hall or Greg Lanning or somebody from the City Council coming in for a State of the City.
Anyway, so you know what? Hey, but I do have to say there was a shining light. My very dear close friend, Maura Healey, won Attorney General for the state of Massachusetts.
Wow.
I know.
You know people in high places.
I texted her yesterday, wished her good luck. She texted back, said thanks.
Can you call in some favors now?
Yeah, maybe. If I move back to Massachusetts, which to me, when I see how the Idahoans voted, might be a good opportunity. My gosh, I'm just happy I don't have kids in the school system. Thank you.
We're going to take some calls to see how you feel about what happened yesterday. 7360300, top story. You are on the air. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys. How are you?
We're doing swell.
It's a wonderful day. Jill, I can understand you're upset. You sound exactly like I did after the last election when Obama got reelected. The thing you got to remember, Jill, is please, I'm being serious, is the people have spoken. Now it's up to the Republicans to do what they said. Now, Obama's health care, all this crap he's been shoving down our throat, now he's going to have to stand up and be a man instead of this little puppy dog in the corner. Well, he ain't going to have Harry Reid there to protect him. He ain't going to have Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi. We got to pass it before we can read it, bull crap. That stuff's going to be over. Now, if the Republicans don't do their jobs, they're cutting their own throats. But there's one thing to remember, Jill. The people have spoken. They've spoken loud. Maybe you can get some judge to overturn everything, like the gay marriage thing happened and all that.
You know what? When the people spoke in two presidential elections, you weren't so gracious and said the people spoken. No, people have criticized that forever. That they should have worked with Obama. You know what? They didn't. Let's see how they remember that one. But to take insurance away from 10 million people, good luck on that one.
That cannot happen. They can't repeal that. If they do,
but they run and say they will.
It'll be over a long period of time. So they're gonna. But with so many people with insurance who've not had it, they can't pull the rug out from under them because that would hurt them. So
would they? Does that matter to the Republicans? I mean, Mitch McConnell in his own state and Connect is so popular. Said you can keep the website. Of course, keep the website, but of course we'll defund the insurance part. But didn't have the guts to actually tell the voters of Kentucky, I'm going to take away your health care. So you know what? When you say one thing and you're going to do another, I think you bamboozled your voters. Shame on them.
Let's take some more comments here. Top story, you are on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. It's a good day. Thank you. I'm number 2 on the list, by the way, that is very excited and not upset.
I don't know why.
And I also want to talk about Harry Reid's chief of staff and how he unloaded on Obama yesterday. Obama didn't want to share any campaign funds. He just turned his back.
I don't know. Fine. I'll look it up. Thank you.
I did. You know what? I saw there was so much to absorb this morning, and I'll be honest with you. I got home about 11:30 last night.
Yeah, long
And then
days.
I get a call in the middle of the night for some other issue, and then I finally get back to sleep. So I wake up at 4:45. So Then I come in here and I try to cram all this stuff in. I did see that headline, but I didn't know what it was about. So
I don't know. Yeah, it's a late night. It's an early morning. I was up at 4:30. We had the leads group today too. So you know what?
We're just too
My
darn
brain
busy.
hurts. My brain hurts. Seriously.
7360300. Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Hey, I called yesterday and commented about just people vote just because there's an R or a D next to their name, and I just, I'm happy with the election, but I wonder how many people did that for like superintendent of education.
I know.
It's so frustrating.
I know.
The vote on HR J2 or whatever it is,
Yep,
HR2.
HCR2.
So I mean, ultimately I'm happy, but some of it's just ridiculous.
Oh, I know. I agree with you. I mean, come on. If you just put an R back there and you don't really care about the person and what they're going to represent, and we have seen enough debates. They had several debates in that race. We've seen enough comments. We've seen whatever, and I'm glad I don't have a kid in the school systems out here. That's for sure.
The constitutional amendment failed.
Yeah.
Just barely, but it failed.
I think I'm happy about that.
50.6.
Because I heard it was going to take away. I heard there was another hidden meaning for that one. So I was like, you know what? I'm glad it failed.
The Hagerman sewer bond passed. The Wendell, for the third time, Wendell voters turned down bond measures to pay for school repairs for $250,000 for an annual bond for 10 years to create a maintenance reserve fund, and they also turned down the $1.5 million bond for a facility project. So they're going to have some tough decisions to make in Wendell now, according to the superintendent there. So interesting stuff. 7360300, top story. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. I just want to let you know, Jill, I'm a registered Republican, and I'm absolutely livid that Sherry Ibarra was voted in.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad someone is.
Livid. I have a child in the public school system that's graduating this year. Thank goodness she's getting out of it. And she has worked her behind off trying to get any type of education, and it is mind-blowing. If anybody watched any of those debates between Janet Jones and Sherry Ibarra, they would not have voted that way. But the last caller has got it right on. If they're voting Republican, they're going straight across.
I know.
And to be honest with you, I'm sick to my stomach.
I know, I am too.
I cannot believe that we have allowed Janet Jones to slip through our hands.
Yep. But,
So,
they took out ads.
totally
The
agree with
Republican
you.
Party took out ads saying, just vote the Republican ticket, vote the Republican ticket. Do they not care about our students? Do they not care about Idahoans? Is it just more important to have an R behind your name here? Is that what it's about? I agree with you, and more Republicans should be upset.
And we'll be right back here on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back, and I just wanted to mention that Dave Hansen and the crew are standing by at Canyon Pond for you to stop by and see what they have in store today. Since it is a pawn shop, it changes on a daily basis. They do have lots of guns. They do have lots of camping stuff and fishing poles and woodworking stuff and tools. They got lots and lots of tools. So, and they also have jewelry. They have watches. We were in there the other day. What else do they have? I should have written it down.
It changes all the time because
it
might be gone by now. They have cooking utensils.
That's right.
They have,
yeah.
All sorts of stuff.
So I want you to stop in and see the newest pawn shop in town. It's a nice, clean store. Very clean.
Yeah.
So they're at the corner of 3rd Avenue South and Shoshone Street, right across from Will's Toyota. Can't miss it. Got a big sign out front that says Canyon Pawn, and they would love for you to stop by. While we're talking about the Superintendent of Public Instruction, that race just kind of concluded
Just
this
kind of,
morning.
sort of.
That was a close one, and with all the precincts reporting now, Sherry Ibarra got 50.7% of the vote to Janet Jones's 49.3%. So that was a close one. Just doing a rough tally of the numbers here, it looks like Ibarra won by about 5,500 votes, approximately.
Wow. Be so proud, Idahoans out there,
well,
man. Look at your superintendent of public instruction. Wow.
This is one of those deals. I have to admit, Sherry Ibarra has some proving to do to me after so many of her missteps.
But don't worry, Kelly, because her brain doesn't operate in the past, so she won't remember any of this. I'm sorry, those are her words, not mine. Those are her words, not mine.
We'll have to see what happens
here.
If
anyone is outraged, this is the race they should be outraged over.
Here's the downside.
Gosh.
If while we're waiting, I'm not trying to condemn anybody here, but while we're waiting for her to prove herself, there can be a lot of damage done in a very, very important area. We'll see what happens. Hey, I'm a conservative, but I have to call it like it is. I'm very concerned about this.
I thought a lot of people were concerned. Everyone I talked to, I can't even believe she got that many votes. Really, and it's just the R behind their name, and that's sad.
We got more callers. They decided they gave up.
Couldn't hang on.
What about this one? Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, lovely Jill.
Good morning.
Kelly, I need a hug, Kelly.
I know.
Oh no, not Kelly. Jill, I need a hug.
Yeah, right.
I need one too.
I was gonna say, not today, buddy.
I think I need Valium. That's what I need.
You know what? People that were so eager to vote Republican, just remember this. And this is a metaphor. When you see Ted Cruz charging you $2 billion to read you a cat in the hat, story on the floor of the Senate, that's exactly what you're gonna get. A joker of a Senate.
I know. Not to mention our state. It's just sad. I really thought this year that people were taking it seriously.
I don't know.
Concerned.
I'm kind of glad to see. I walked out this morning, and as a matter of fact, the grass was starting to turn green again. The trees were starting to bud again. The sky was a little bit bluer. After the Republican victory in the Senate.
What are they going to do?
Maybe we can turn this thing around and get it headed in the right direction.
The country is in the right direction after the last Republican administration.
Anything good that's has happened in spite of Obama, not because of him.
It's interesting. He's blamed for the worst, and then when things turn around, he never gets any credit for it, and he is president.
That's the way it is.
Yeah, because that's how they're.
Truth.
Oh, please.
7360300.
I hope they have a very long memory, those Republicans.
Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Hi. Hey, this superintendent thing is just blowing my mind.
I know.
It really, I attended the debate.
Yep.
And I listened to them on the TV, and Sherry never got any better.
I know.
So she is proof. Like, the fact that she won has just embarrassed Idahoans. And all of these Republicans, whether you're voting that way because you were raised that way or whatever, it's proof that you can have a blow-up doll running for a seat, whether it be superintendent or anyone, and they would win because they don't even pay attention to the candidate. And so this with Sherry Ibarra is just unreal to me. It is unreal, and I'm shocked because I really felt like people also were taking this seriously, and it's really disheartening that this is how we're voting. I know people who simply because they felt like a teacher would vote for Jana, they simply were going to vote opposite of that. And that's a dangerous way to vote. And it also makes absolutely no sense. So this is embarrassing, and we're just going to stay on the bottom. This is not helping us out at all.
Are you a teacher?
I work in the schools. I'm working towards my degree. So I'm in the schools. I see what's happening. I see how a lot of these policies that are coming from the state are not working in the classroom. We talk I have staff meetings, and I'm there. We've had district meetings. And, this is just not, she's very disconnected. And everything I've ever read about her, I was an informed voter. And people who were informed and who are in the schools, they would have voted with their head and not simply by that stinking R or D behind the name. It's ridiculous.
I feel your
totally
pain.
Ridiculous.
I think that we should be embarrassed too.
All right, hey, thanks for your thoughts. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about the home is where the art is with a Habitat for Humanity. Big fundraiser coming up this weekend. We'll be right back. 7360300, the number to call this morning on Top Story. Welcome back. We're going to talk about the Habitat for Humanity's home is where the art is.
Easy for you to say.
I was going to say art is where the home is.
I know.
But I knew that wasn't right. But before we do that, the folks at Clearwater Power Equipment want you to know they have Husqvarna and Echo power equipment. They've got chainsaws. They've got leaf blowers. They've got hydraulic wood splitters. They've got lawnmowers. Any kind of that power equipment you need, they got it. They service it. They sell it, and they are experts on it.
And it's beautiful.
And it's beautiful. That's right. Especially right now with the leaf raking going on. Pick up one of those leaf blowers they got down there. Or a Husqvarna chainsaw from, What says fall like a Husqvarna chainsaw? That's right. And that, you pull that rope and it goes, and there you go. You can just start moving that thing around like a magic wand and trees just start falling.
That's right.
So stop by at 252 Washington Street. The folks at Clearwater Power Equipment would like to have you stop by. If nothing else, just to say hi, take a look at the store. There where General Building Supply used to be. The number is 734-7767 at Clearwater Power Equipment. Carolyn White's on the line with us this morning. Good morning, Carolyn.
Morning, Carolyn.
Good morning. How are you all?
We're just, things are looking good today.
I'm depressed and disgusted.
Greener.
How can you ask?
The grass is greener.
I know. I was a little disappointed in the results as well, but
I know. But Carolyn, you guys have Home is Where the Art coming up. Home is Where the Art is coming up Saturday, right?
Correct. Home is Where the Art is. It's a partnership we're doing with the Habitat for Humanity and the Magic Valley Arts Council. And we're going to be having an auction, and it'll be both a silent auction and a live auction this Saturday. It's going to be held at the Restore, 639 Eastland Drive South.
Oh, so it won't be at Elevation, the Magic Valley Arts Council?
No. We had way too many items to make it fit at our venue, so we're going to do it at the Restore, and it's going to be a lot of fun. From 4 to 7 is the silent auction. We also have a appraisal tent. So for $5 you can come per item and get that one special thing you've been hanging on to that you found in your grandmother's attic all these years ago and find out if it really is worth something. It's sort of our version of the Antiques Roadshow.
That sounds great. And Carolyn, I've donated a couple things. Now, how this worked was people who have had old artwork or items or pottery, whatever, have donated it, and then it goes for auction. And I believe I've donated 2 pieces. One's a lithograph. I think it's going to be in the live auction, isn't it?
I think so. I'm really waiting for the auctioneer to make his final selection on what he wants to
it's up to him.
For the live auction. Well, we've set several items aside that we think to go for the live auction, but we're going to let the experts kind of make their choices as well. So
well, it should be a lot of fun. We're going to go and see, but you can get some really nice artwork. If say you're redoing a home, people it doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's junk. It just means you might be tired of it.
Exactly. Or people redecorate and they change their color schemes or whatever, and so they've had a beautiful piece of art in their home for years, and they've decided to pass it on for someone else to share. It's kind of like recycling.
It is recycling.
Yeah, exactly. So this is kind of a dual fundraiser with the Magic Valley Arts Council and Habitat for Humanity. What do you split the money down the middle, or?
Yes, we're going to be dividing the revenue, and so it's kind of a unique situation because nonprofits tend to try to go it alone all the time, and so this is sort of our opportunity to partner with someone else in the community. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I was very surprised, that the Restore actually received antique items. Yeah. I didn't know that until I got involved in this project. I just thought it was like, used building materials, but it's not. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and we've collected a lot of art from a lot of artists in the community, as well as just regular, folks that are being generous and recycling their art to be enjoyed by someone else. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's completely open to the public. We're going to have food. We have entertainment. The only thing that really costs you money is if you decide to go and have something appraised, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, but for $5, that's
big deal. $5.
Yeah. So a lot of items will be silent auction items or cash and carry. Make an offer right then and there. Go for it. And
That's a nice investment. $5 to find out you got a $1,500 item.
Well, let me tell you something. Yeah. My lithograph that I donated, I paid $325 back, like when I could not afford that, but I loved her so much. It's now worth, at least what they told me, we don't know an actual appraisal, $1,700.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now that everybody knows what that price is, they'll all run down and bid $1,695 on it.
Well, you don't have to pay the appraisal, but the point is you can get a really nice piece of artwork for much less, too, and it goes to charity. I think it's a great event. So that's this Saturday.
What's the time again?
The time is 4 to 8 p.m. From 4 to 7 is the silent auction, and the appraisal tent starting at 7. From 7 to 8 is the live auction portion of it. If you have any questions, give us a call, 734-2787.
All right, we're out of time. Thank you, Carolyn. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Hope to see you there.
Okay, I will be there.
Okay, great.
And we'll be right back with Randy Staples. 736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. And we thought about a week ago that after the election, it'd be good to have kind of an unbiased bystander analysis of the election.
A lot of pressure on Randy with that statement.
Yeah, exactly. So we got Randy Staples. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning, Randy.
Good morning.
Have you been up all night?
Oh, not all night, but fairly late. It always takes a number of turns a while to come in, and there were overnight between midnight and early this morning, there were even a few things that changed.
Yeah.
But not a lot. For the most part, the big top lines were pretty clear by late evening, certainly.
And were you surprised, Randy?
Not by very much. For the most part, it was not very much of a surprise at all. If you look at the races overall, I had thought that in the superintendent of public instruction race that Janet Jones probably would pull it out, but that was not to be. It came very close. It came within about 5,000 votes out of tens of thousands. A few 100,000 that were cast, and so that one wound up being in fact very close. And the Secretary of State's race, which I thought would probably go Republican, but would be somewhat closer. It was closer than most of the other races, but Republicans did very, very well in Idaho. Could hardly have done much better. One of the things about it is that this certainly showed the power of that R.
Oh, I know.
No question.
I don't think there's much doubt about that.
Which is sad to me. I mean, come on, why not look at the person?
There were one of the interesting things there. If you look at the congressional races, you've got Risch winning, Senator Risch winning at 65%, Labrador winning at 65%, Simpson winning at 61%. For most of the evening, in fact, their percentages, even while the numbers varied a little bit, their percentages were almost exactly the same.
Yes. Yeah.
They were all right at about 64-65%. In a lot of cases, it really didn't seem to matter who the individual person was. Either the person was an R or they were not.
Yeah, and each election cycle in Idaho, we have this same conversation. Well, the tide might turn this year. Things could be a little different, but it never is. It always winds up being almost the same thing.
Which is so pathetic to me. My gosh, and we had some good candidates,
but
we had candidates that were severely flawed on the Republican side, severely flawed. And you have to say, my gosh, what does it take? No, let me finish one sentence.
Severely flawed from your viewpoint.
No, it should be severely flawed from Idahoans' point of view.
Well,
we've had a few Republicans.
Just because you're a liberal doesn't mean you're always right, Jill. I mean, it may be flawed from your point of view, but obviously not from a lot of people.
If you don't think Ron Crane is severely flawed, or Lawrence Denny was severely flawed, or Sherry Barr was severely flawed, what does it take in Idaho to actually vote someone out? Randy, can you answer that?
They were the candidates. Certainly, I think it would be fair to say the candidates were certainly a whole lot different. They were not exactly the same. If you look at a Brad Little or a Lawrence Wasden, on the one hand, their reputation, their background, their track record is a great deal different than some of the others. Say Lawrence Denny or Sherry Ibarra. There is at the very least what the public was given to understand about these candidates was a lot different, and you can judge it that way in terms of what the public was told about these candidates and what they absorbed about it and what they decided on it. The background of the candidates seemed not to matter a great deal.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that Governor Butch Otter ended up with about 54% of the vote, and his Lieutenant Governor Brad Little got 63%. I would have.
It mattered. It obviously mattered some because there was some difference in percentage points in these races, and that would be a good example. Otter was beaten on pretty heavily throughout a lot of the campaign. He had some terrible headlines, a lot of editorials. Even some of those that endorsed him didn't really weren't very happy about what they were doing. He had a lot of problems going in, and I talked to people who just last weekend in Boise anyway, who thought that he was probably going to lose.
Yeah.
I didn't think that, but there were a number of people who have watched Idaho politics a long time who thought that might be the case. I didn't think that was likely to happen. That the Republican sweep was probably going to be too strong, but there was some difference. The difference between governor and lieutenant governor, the fact that Ibarra very nearly lost.
Yes,
not nearly enough.
Indicates that there were people out there who did draw some. There were some people out there who drew some of these distinctions.
Right, exactly.
But not enough.
I was a little surprised with the controversy that Ron Crane had been through. I was a little surprised that he won. That he got over 61% to Deb Silver's almost 39%. I was a little surprised that he had that kind of a margin.
Yeah.
I wasn't that much. He was not quite so much on my radar in terms of being at serious risk, simply because a lot of what went on there, however serious it was fairly technical, and I don't think a lot of people got into it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, and then some people
very often if something is complex and people are either confused by it or they don't really kind of get into the weeds on it, that can be a problem. In Oregon, for example, there was a ballot issue for the top two approach for a primary, which is very much like what Washington had. But I think a lot of people were kind of confused by that, and didn't understand exactly what it was involved, and so it failed.
The closest race we had here for state was the state representative between Republican Steve Hartgen and Democrat Catherine Talkington. This thing was neck and neck, and in fact, for quite some time, Catherine Talkington was ahead until Hartgen finally pulled out, and looks like he
thought that one was worth 7%. Watching.
Yeah, it was.
That certainly seemed to be a race with some real prospects in it, and it does show, I think, that underlying there is a little bit more Democratic potential in Twin Falls than has usually been seen. If you have the right candidates in the right situation, the possibility could be there, and bearing in mind that this year was a very Republican year nationally.
Yes.
That probably, helps the Republican candidates in Idaho a little bit more.
I was going to say we had a caller, but it looks like they hung up there at the last minute. So as you look at this election result in Idaho as a whole, then as you see it, not all that surprising.
No, not all that surprising, and very little change. There was one that I thought was kind of interesting that in fact I'm going to need to do an update on something that I wrote last night about one legislative race in West Boise in a very traditionally Republican district where last night it certainly looked as if the Democratic candidate Steve Birch was winning, and he did come very close. But apparently, once all the final returns came in, not quite good enough.
Yeah.
So
but there was an indication, at least once again, that district is a district that is up for grabs, and is certainly worth watching again. But that's about the most takeaway that I come away with in Idaho on this election.
I know that I think the Democrats made a respectable showing, but if anybody thinks that Idaho is going to be turning blue anytime soon, I think they're probably mistaken.
Well,
would you agree with that?
Well, I don't think there's any. I put it this way: I see no reason based on this on this election to think so. But then sometimes when switches occur, and I've seen switches occur in other states, sometimes they happen rather rapidly, and that can happen too.
That's true.
But I don't see any reason right now to think that it's going to happen, say, in 2016.
Randy, what was the voter turnout? Do you know?
In Idaho, it seems to me that it was something around 30%, somewhere in that area.
God.
Pretty low.
How pathetic.
And nationally, the turnout was in the 30s. It was very low. It was much lower than average voter turnout.
I don't know if you analyze much on the national level as much as you do the local states, but was the GOP victory yesterday somewhat surprising to you?
The scope of it, the reach of it into some places that I hadn't expected. Yeah, it was that it went quite as far as it did. There were a lot of places where it was not hard to foresee, because there were a lot of Senate seats, places like Alaska and South Dakota, where you had Republican states which had Democratic seats up. Montana is another one, and it was not surprising or unexpected that Republicans would take some of those Senate seats. But Republicans also won governorships in places like Illinois and Massachusetts, which are not Republican states. So it went further than that. On the other hand, looking ahead to 2016, when there will be a presidential year, voter turnout will be higher, the electorate will be different, and Republicans have a lot more Senate seats up. I think they're going to have a very hard time maintaining control of the Senate beyond the next cycle.
Randy, have you followed the Kansas state, the Kansas situation, their financial situation that's going on there? I was shocked that Brownback was reelected in. Have you been following what's been going on there?
That was surprising to me, because all of the polls consistently had shown him, nearly all of the polls, had shown him behind by substantial margins. That one did surprise me.
Yeah, and Republicans are so outraged what he's done to that state. He took them from a $700 million surplus to a $300 million deficit. Their credit ratings dropped like 7 times. Unemployment's through the roof. I mean, crazy stuff. Why would you re-elect someone like that again? Just because they have an R behind their name? I mean, this is insanity to me.
I think there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be thinking pretty hard about some of that, about how and why exactly that happened, and what the meaning of it is, and what people thought they were voting for.
Do you think that had a lot to do, especially on the state level like that with the governorships? Do you think a lot of that were anti-Obama votes and not pro-Republican votes?
I don't think there were a lot of pro votes.
That's really a good point.
It was a pretty. I think the attitudes were pretty negative. They were almost kind of free floating in a way. I think the attitudes toward Obama were negative enough that certainly contributed. But I think there's been I think there's some real negativity among the electorate. And how that translates in the next few elections will be hard to know. One of the interesting things to look at, though, has been the way these elections have been just kind of bouncing back and forth. You had 2008, which was strongly Democratic, 10, which was strongly Republican, 12, which was strongly Democratic, 14, which is strongly Republican. I mean, where does this end?
Yeah, exactly. And I think people are searching. And it's almost to the point now they're just kind of walking in and flipping the button and hoping for the best.
That's sad, though.
So,
I mean, I just
very
feel
sad.
like people
It almost suggests. Well, it makes me wonder about whether people are giving up on the whole idea of governing themselves.
Yeah.
Well, when you see the money in the races now and the amount that's being poured in by outside groups, you feel like, my gosh, how do you have a chance against this,
Yeah. Randy, we are out of time, so I guess we'll talk about some more of this on next Monday.
Thanks,
Randy. Talk to you
Get
Monday.
some
All right,
sleep.
thanks for doing double duty this week.
Okay.
All right, we'll see
Bye.
you. That's Randy Staples from Reidenbaugh Press at reidenbaugh.com. You can get his weekly update by subscribing to it or hear him here weekly on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX. We'll be right back with the State of the City after the news from the Fox Radio News Network. And welcome back to Top Story, 736-0300. Always the number to call. Welcome back, Jill.
Thanks, Cal. Same to you.
You know, it's been surprisingly warm for the last 2 or 3 days. I thought it was going to cool off. I mean, it's 49 now, which isn't
I thought it was just the
hot,
politics.
but, well, I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know. All that hot air.
It's
If
hot
anything,
air.
though, it should. And I'll tell you what, I am the first to say I am so glad to listen to the radio and not hear all the political ads. But I'll say it again too. We made a ton of money during the campaign season.
So you don't care.
I don't know if it's good for your economy, but it's good for ours.
Oh, jeez.
God bless America and the free enterprise system. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. We have with us this morning Twin Falls Mayor Jon Karl. Good morning, sir.
Good morning,
Good morning
Don.
to both of you.
Nice to have you here with us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
The
birds are singing. The sun
yes, they
came
are.
out.
The grass is turning green again.
It is.
I'm glad I don't have a student in the Idaho school systems. There you go.
It just hit me as I sit here watching at you. You are participating in the No Shave November.
I am.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And does your audience know about what that's all about?
We had them
Ben
on
Hammer yesterday.
Very good.
Yeah.
Officer Hammer.
But you can read.
Well,
I mean, it's a good cause.
Yeah, absolutely. Officer Hammer brought that to us last year. It was the first year we did that. Did a great job putting a proposal together with his department and then running it up the flagpole, and then finally to the city council about taking the month of November off shaving and utilizing the money that you might be spending for shaving and giving it to Misty out at the hospital regarding
Mountain Stutes Tumor Institute.
Exactly, about prostate cancer research and the like. And I think it's a really worthy cause.
And kind of an awareness thing, too, when you see all the police and the city officials going around with beards.
It is, and it is, I will tell you, it is a sacrifice because this is already driving me crazy. but
and that's a short drive anyway.
It is, it's not very long.
But more importantly, Don, did you get your PSA test?
I have not got that for a while, but
you need a digital exam.
I know, but I'm clear because I've had
the
other procedures recently that cleared me, Jill.
All right, that's what's important, though.
Absolutely,
not just grow your beard; you got to get screened.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
no, it's true. That's the whole part of it. So.
Absolutely.
One of the things we wanted to talk about this morning was this new committee that has just formed to help the Twin Falls City find a new city hall.
Absolutely.
And Jill, as a matter of disclaimer,
of all people.
You are the co-chairman of that group, correct?
Yes, somehow I was, I don't know if
when
I
they said we have volunteers, everybody else stepped back and Jill stayed still.
For the longest time, no one was raising their hand. Right. And I thought, you know what, someone has to do it. So I raised my hand.
Well, Jill, you got the ball rolling. You raised your hand. Then we had two other individuals.
Who said, oh, my God, she raised her hand. We have to stop this. I'll raise mine. But it's with Gary Garnan and Greg
Polson, I think.
Yes. So the three of us, and we had our first meeting Monday. We're going to have another meeting November 13th at 11:30 at the City Council chambers. But so if you want to be on the committee, come on down. We always welcome more people, right? It's not too late.
Absolutely. What we want to get as much input from our citizenry as we can, and we certainly appreciate and understand that some people may not be able to go to every meeting.
I know,
and that's okay. But we want their voice to be heard because this is an important decision. We moved into the city hall that we're in back in the 40s. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so no one can tell me that we're not conservative fiscally in this area because we're in the same building. Now we've had to spread out to other buildings, of course, because the population changed between the 40s and 2014 has
Plus,
made
you've
some
added
difference.
on to the current one, right?
Well, we have not added on to the building itself. Well, maybe the fire portion of it through the years. We did build a city police department next to it in the 70s, and of course that's bursting at the seams too. So we're asking citizens to come and give us some guidance.
And Monday we're going to have, if you want to be on the committee, Monday they're going to have tours at 11:30 through that, and so we're going to look through that, and also the old clinic. I believe Eric emailed us and said he's going to have that open so we can go to the current facilities and see the old clinic, which is one of the considerations.
It is. There's 11 different spots that we have at least preliminarily looked at in differing levels. We've looked at some a little more aggressively than others.
Although a few aren't available anymore.
And that's exactly right. That's what I was going to say. Some of the ones that we were looking at are not available anymore, but we've looked at 11 different structures.
Right. So we do want your input. Don't just sit back again and complain. Come on down, do something.
Be part of the solution instead of part of the problem.
It's like, it's, come on. I mean, I've lived in 7 different, probably more big cities. I might have a good input on what a city hall should look like, but you should too,
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone has a different point of view.
Well, yesterday, when you go vote, they give you the I voted little sticker, and somebody mentioned that is the complaint permit. Now you can complain about things because you went and voted.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I think that's accurate. And it's the same thing here. We want people, if they want to, we want them to get involved and give us guidance.
I know.
The thing of it is, too, with our modern technology, there's no excuse for not being involved, because I know from personal experience that the city council is very responsive. You're available through email. Several of you have actually given your own personal cell phone number out here, which I think is a very brave thing to do.
Right.
And, you're very approachable, and with just the modern technology aside, you don't have to go to the meetings anymore. You can watch those online.
You can.
So you can be involved and never leave your house and be more involved than you ever have been.
Well, we have a very, very good system at the city. You can not only watch the meetings as they go on, but we have them archived. If you want to go back a couple of years, you can look at different meetings and all of our different commissions.
Yeah, which is great. That's why I say modern technology is going to save us and it's going to kill us. So
Right.
It's a two-edged sword.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's exciting. So
if somebody is interested in this committee and getting on it, what do they do?
Well, you let us know, because most of the time, we have several commissions and they get paid a lot. I.e. nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
So most of the time, especially if it's a noon meeting, we do provide lunches for them. We would like to know if you're coming ahead of time so that we can make sure that there's enough food for folks. And I think that's a small price to pay, by the way, to get their input and get them there.
So basically, you just show up.
But if you're interested, Monday, 11:30 at the City Hall building, right?
Well, the City Council chambers.
No, the Monday starting at the tour. They said to meet at
at the
City Hall. I forget which side.
If you show up at City Hall, we will.
It's City Hall. They're
you.
having the tour, right?
Yes.
So they're starting the tour Monday, 11:30, and then did you get that email?
Well, I haven't looked at that email, but generally, Jill, just for the future, what we usually like to do with these commissions is start in the city council chambers and then recess and go places. That way people can see that we're meeting. So we might want to check on that.
We might have to check. And then the meeting itself is going to be November 13th at the city council chambers for sure. But if you want to take the tour and you happen to go to the city hall or the chambers, I'm sure we'll find you.
Right.
You'll find us. Just say you're there for the tour.
Yeah, and we'll have plenty of people around to find you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, so you can just get a feel, and then if you didn't have a chance to do it, because the time sometimes we're a little awkward that day, during the work days, and sometimes.
So is there some money saved up in a special account to help along with this project along, or is this a deal where we're going to be starting from ground zero, going to the people with a bond election or something?
Well, there's really 3 different options that we can look at. One is to do a special, what's it called again? Levy. Kind of what we did with the senior center, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the citizens and said, would you like to fund a senior center? And it needed to be funded over a 2-year period. So there's one. That is not a whole lot of appeal to me, because that's such a radical taxation.
Well, the committee
piece.
hasn't decided
They
yet, so
haven't.
no input.
Right.
There's 3 points.
Right.
There's the levy.
But I'm just telling you my personal
Yeah.
feeling, okay? And then, of course, we can go to the citizens and ask for a bond, much like what we do with, any infrastructure need for the city. And then the third is we can look at our cash reserves.
Okay.
So there's $13 million in cash reserves.
And can the committee come up with some other options? Is that what this is all about? Or
well, the committee's going to look at the 3 funding, and you can do a combination too. And so, we'll see.
Sure.
So,
I mean, that's the interesting thing about getting a lot of different perspectives together, because they might come up with something we haven't even thought of.
And there were so many amazing people in that meeting.
Are there grants available for things like this? Or?
Well, I'm sure that there are, but I think that would be very, very difficult. It's not
right up there with a bake sale, huh, Don?
Yeah, it'd be very difficult. But certainly we would explore that. We have a grant writer on staff at the city now that could explore that. But right now, I think that might be difficult. But that might be something that comes out.
I don't know. But you know what? We have some great people on there, and they had some great questions the other day. I was really impressed, and I'm excited about it.
Well, I want to mention that looking in the audience, because I got to say a few things at the beginning, and then the city council is really going to back out and just listen from this point on. But looking in the audience of folks, we had the usual suspects, I say, the folks that are always involved, and God bless them, because they come to
and they care.
And they care. I mean, that's neat, and that's wonderful.
If only everyone were that way.
Know.
But we had a bunch of folks in the audience that were unfamiliar to me, and I think
awesome.
that was great.
I know. I thought it was exciting too.
It's like getting new callers on the show here. 736-0300, top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Hey, I thought Jill lived in Kimberly.
I do live in Kimberly, but they
and
said
you're selecting the city hall for Twin Falls?
They said it's open to anyone, and you know what? I pay taxes, and my husband had a business
there. That's true.
there
Everybody pays taxes, but I live in Filer, and I wouldn't even think of going into Twin Falls and getting something about the city hall.
Why not?
I just don't think it's...
They have different input. We all use City Hall.
Here's how I look at this. I live out in the county. I do not live in the city, but Twin Falls is my town. I work in town. I do my shopping here in town. So to be excluded from certain things like this, to me, seems a little bit unfair. It's kind of like the people who live in the impact zone.
Area of impact.
I'm in there. Yeah.
The city makes all the decisions in the area that they're living, but yet they can't vote for any of the city commissioners. So this is a chance to become involved in your local area.
I think the caller has a good perspective. I understand where he's coming from.
I do too.
Especially if it goes to a bond or something, we're going to be asking the citizens to do this, and folks on the committee won't have to pay for that. Okay, so I get that, but really, you're exactly right, Kelly. This is city of Twin Falls is it's a community. And folks, just because you live a mile or a foot outside of our district doesn't mean that you don't have some input. You probably work within the city of Twin Falls or own property within the city of Twin Falls.
My husband had a business for 15 years here.
Exactly.
And,
so we want to listen to your voice as well.
And I live right across the street. But also, then you limit it to, is it just people who rent? They can't be on the committee because they don't pay property taxes? I mean, I pay school taxes. I don't have kids. There you go.
Okay, top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. My understanding, I've heard rumors, and you know how rumors are. They're everywhere.
True.
You got about 20 seconds. So
okay, I've heard that the city has put some money down on the old Banner building down on Main Street. I've heard that the Rogerson building has been purchased, which it has, and it was going to be leveled and a parking lot put there. And I've also heard at the Idaho Youth Ranch there's been a bid made towards purchasing that building to put a splash park and a place for the Wednesday night concerts. Could you comment on that, please?
All right, we'll have the mayor do that if you can stay.
I can.
We'll have him do that as soon as the break's over, right here on Top Story.
Don.
736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. We have Twin Falls Mayor Don Hall with us on State of the City. Before we get back to that so he can answer the questions of the previous caller, I wanted to say that the word of the day brought to you by the Happy Landing Restaurant. One of my favorite places in the whole world to eat. I'm going out there tomorrow, as I do weekly for the Ham Radio Group.
This is where Kelly hangs on Thursdays and he eats.
That's my place. They all know me by first name basis.
I would hope so.
I rarely have to tell them what I want because when I walk in, they can read my face and they just bring it to me, So,
and they
anyway.
say, and would you like pie with that?
But at any rate, the word of the day brought to you by the Happy Landing Restaurant. They are at the Twin Falls Airport. You don't have to be flying anywhere or arriving from anywhere in order to eat there. I mean, it's just a restaurant at the airport.
Yeah.
While you can watch the planes come and go. You can, if it's your first time visit, tell them you heard about it with Kelly and Jill here on KLIX. And if you buy a drink, then they'll give you a free piece of pie.
Isn't that nice?
It's wonderful.
I'm sure
It's
you like
homemade
pie,
pie,
don't you,
too.
Don?
It's huge.
This
That's
is
huge.
not the
I
store-bought
eat out there
pie.
once in a while.
Yeah.
You're going to have to say you heard it here to get your free pie.
Okay.
Well,
It's
not your first visit, though, so sorry you don't qualify there. Well, you could give it a try, I
Now that you got, the
recognize
beard
you.
on, they won't recognize you.
Yesterday's $100 instant winning name is Garth Stoddard.
Garth Stoddard, congratulations.
And today's $100 word of the day is guy.
Guy.
G-U-Y. G-U-Y. Guy. Yeah, like Guy Wire. Or a guy. Just you got a girl and you got a guy.
Okay.
All right, so go to our website, newsradio1310.com, click on Word of the Day, type in Guy, G-U-Y, and listen tomorrow. And if you hear your name tomorrow and you played the word today, you win $100. All right, so Twin Falls Mayor Don Hall, what about that? What we put money down? Okay,
I remember the three questions.
I'm glad.
Hopefully.
After all this.
First of all, have we? The rumor really is we've already made our decision. This is just a farce, and that it couldn't be anything further from the truth. We really do treasure our commissions and folks that give us advice. We need that. Certainly, we have done some due diligence. We've looked at some more robustly than others, 11 different areas for this, and we've taken several tours of the clinic, for example, the old clinic, and went through that building, and we've have put some money down on the Banner Furniture building because that was done after we had done some structural looking at the building. First of all buildings have bones, right? They have structure, and then everything else is facades. Okay?
Yeah.
And so we wanted to see, well, is this even a viable building? Is the structure okay? Is the concrete solid? Because it's an older building, obviously. And so we did some research, and it costs money to do those kind of things. And we found that it's a very solid structure. So, there's some money put down. We've spent a little bit of money in this exploration.
Now, I think maybe where people are getting confused is when you use the money, there has been some money put down. Because when you use that term, it's like a down payment for purchase.
Right.
But this is putting money down for research and not for a down payment, correct?
Well,
but you did sign a contract.
It is money that has been put down to hold the price.
Okay. All right.
Because if the first thing that will raise prices is the city's looking at your building.
Sure, absolutely.
and we have a responsibility to utilize tax funds as efficiently as we can. So that's due diligence.
And the price is $430,000.
It is.
Which seems high.
It is not. It is.
That's what I would think.
Not
when
for the square
compare
feet.
it to building a new building, $430,000. I mean, that's like the front door.
Well, the other thing too, we wanted to make sure that was the case because we also contracted with someone to look at what will it cost a building like this to remodel and put in place, especially in comparison to going to bare ground and building a building of the same size.
Right.
And it's literally half.
I'll bet.
But
Half
Don,
of what it would cost to go to, and that includes the purchase price of land or this building. It includes the demolition of what needs to be done, and so it's literally half of what it would be to build a brand new building.
So to answer the caller's question, what's the taxpayer's exposure on this?
About $27,000 at this point.
No, I mean with the building because it's under contract, but you don't have to fulfill the contract. And then what would the taxpayers pay?
If we choose not to go down this road, there is no obligation.
There's no earnest
then
money?
Then it goes back on the market, and we have spent $27,000.
Oh, I thought there was $10,000 earnest money.
Yeah, that's part of the $27,000.
Oh, okay.
That earnest money would stay with the seller.
Would be part of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the one question. The Rogerson building, is that going to be torn down?
Across the street. People get confused. It has actually been purchased by the Urban Renewal Agency.
Not by the city.
Not by the city. It's a whole different entity. And they are exploring what they're going to do with that. I've heard the same rumors this gentleman has. We don't know. They are exploring what needs to be done over there, whether they're going to raise it or whether they're going to remodel it or make it available for purchase later on for economic development, we don't know. As far as the youth ranch, I have not heard anything that's going to be purchased by URA or anything. I'm certain that people are looking at all kinds of buildings downtown, especially if this does come to fruition. And we had great development in our downtown. Yeah. Well, I went to breakfast lunch the other day on a Saturday.
Can you hang tight?
I can.
All right, we'll be right back with Mayor Don Hall.
We want to know where you went to lunch and what did you eat.
736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story, and I know that the irrigation season is done for the season, done for the year. But next year, you'll want to consider the infrared Baron, which is the overflights that they do over your fields with infrared photography from Far More of Idaho. And as they take these infrared photos, they upload them to your computer. You can analyze them, and it will probably shock you as to what you see.
Ooh.
Yes. You will think that your fields are nice and wet and everything is perfect, but as you see with infrared photography, you will see dry spots that you didn't know existed. You might even see wet spots, and it might be so horrifying that you make the decision that, man, we've got to do something. Well, that's the point of the whole deal. And once you do and you make these corrections, do a little maintenance on your irrigation system, get a new irrigation system. Once you make these changes, you'll look at it again and, that's more like it. And you will find that your yields are increasing. You're making more money on each acre of the ground. So you will find that these overflights do not cost. They pay.
There you go. And you might even find illegally planted pot in your field.
Could do.
Which would be nice information to have.
It would be. Boy, I'm going to make a killing on my crop this year.
Who snuck in here? What the heck?
But at any rate, for more information on the infrared Baron, get a hold of Far More of Idaho. Their number is 324-3341 or farmoreofidaho.com.
Okay, we do want to clarify something. The tour on Monday will begin at City Hall in the PD classroom. So you go in the back door, and it used to be the old chambers. City Council chambers, immediate left. So that's where it is. So
that's where it starts. So,
yeah, that's where we're going to start. All right. Just
Jill was right. Boy, and she loves that, doesn't she?
Well, she I don't. I just remember.
And we got a note from Leila that said that the chambers were occupied that day.
Yeah,
that's why they're not starting there.
Oh, okay. So Leila's listening.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Leila.
Hi, Leila.
She's such a doll.
Yeah. She is. She's a wonderful.
She's
lady.
Lovely.
You were mentioning before the break about all the development we've had in downtown.
Well, we were talking about downtown and
where did you have lunch and what did you order?
I had lunch at the GNR the other day, and what did I? And it was excellent lunch, by the way. My wife and I went down there and we did some shopping on a Saturday, and there was almost standing room only in that restaurant. What a positive change that we've seen in our downtown in the last year or two.
A lot of restaurants.
A lot of lot of vibrancy. People were shopping. I went into a couple different, antique stores, and Ooh La La, went over and saw Leah over at Ooh La La, and it was just neat.
Yeah. It seems like as I drive through and drive around that taking the parking meters out was probably the right thing to do, because it seems like there's a lot more cars. It's a lot more crowded in the downtown.
Well, I just have to say that I kind of led the push to remove those years ago, and we just didn't have enough votes on council to do it. And then we had a transition of council, and another council member brought that back, and we finally made the decision to pull the parking meters. And in my humble opinion, best thing we ever did for downtown.
Yeah, I think so too. And I don't do a lot of travel. I leave Twin Falls maybe once a year if I'm lucky, But when I do and I see other downtowns, I really don't ever. It's a rare thing when I run across one that compares to ours.
Yeah, I agree with that. What a great downtown. Certainly the 70s weren't very positive for the facades that were put on, but we're trying to go back. Each owner is trying to go back and bring that back. And what a great thing that's happening at the Orpheum, for example. I got a tour back stage of the Orpheum recently, because we have new folks that own that, and they're going to make some changes there. Again, the architecture, the history, it's just a beautiful downtown.
No, you have to respect that. Coming from Boston, everything historic. You don't tear anything down. You work with what you can work with. And even in Park City, when you go there, they've had these old little coal mine houses. They keep the fronts on. They build it up. They do not tear it down. And that's the beauty of a city.
Well, the West has traditionally, if it's more than 50 years old, we tear it down.
They have no idea what history is.
What happened.
You go back east,
Oh,
they're 300-year-old buildings that are still standing.
One of the worst things we ever did was tear down the old Perrine Hotel.
Yes.
That was a magnificent...
You hear that all the time.
What a tourist draw that would be today,
Yes.
And so when they're talking about the old Rogerson Hotel, and I know this is not the city, this is the URA, but boy, I hope they think long and hard before they tear that down, because it's been around for a long time. And it may have problems, but it's still history.
Might be worth fixing, because they do say the facade. We had the one of the occupants call in and say that there's, the facades are still there and covered up and nice. And
Well, I actually went through the old Rogerson yesterday, because we were going to be utilizing. I teach at CSI, the law enforcement program. We need a place to go and do building search training, and we walked through that building, and it's pretty rough.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's pretty. The structure downstairs, so I'm sure that's going to play into the URA's decision. But it's.
I mean, if you can save it, I think
you can save it, you should.
If you got to do it, you got to
sense,
do it.
yeah.
But to just say, it's 50 years old, let's knock it down.
Well, we want to make sure that it's safe. That's the main thing. And if it's not safe, we've got to make a decision.
Well, Don, I think we attacked about every subject we could today.
Except what you actually ordered for lunch. No.
That's right.
It was excellent.
He won't say.
Hamburger and fries. I mean,
there you go.
It's just hard to beat the old basics.
It's only because Don, I always tease him about not eating vegetables.
Yeah, I don't want to say it in front of Jill, because she chastises me later.
Did you have ketchup? Because the government considers ketchup a vegetable. Ta-da.
Well, there you go. There you go. So you're safe. Mayor Don Hall, thank you, sir. We'll see you next time.
Thank you
Thanks,
both.
And this is Top Story. We'll be right back. 7360300, the number to call here on Top Story this morning. We got about, 6 minutes left. And with the election yesterday and the GOP taking over 7 more seats in the U.S. Senate, you might have the question, well, what now? What's going to happen now? And there's an excellent article here that I pared down for brevity's sake.
Thank you.
From BusinessInsider.com.
So I'm sure they'll just be doing so much.
Just give you a snapshot of what can happen now. Republicans plan to adopt a combative but strategic approach toward governing now that they take control of both the chambers of the U.S. Congress. With an eye toward the 2016 presidential election, Republican leaders in the House and Senate will look to move forward GOP legislative priorities popular with the American public and could earn an ample number of Democratic votes to send to President Barack Obama's desk. They'll also aim to show that they are the party best able to run the country.
All right.
Some of the immediate legislative priorities that Republicans would look to act on include passage of the Keystone XL pipeline, which the Obama administration has delayed multiple times over the past 3 years, chipping away at the Affordable Care Act and corporate tax reform.
Oh, yeah.
The goal is to force Obama to make decisions on popular bills, putting him in a corner where he will have to either veto legislation or begrudgingly accept it. Gosh, he might have to actually be the president. Obama has vetoed
Wait. The House is trying to sue him because he was doing so much on his own. So, don't act like he's a passive. What happened to that lawsuit? I'm sure that will.
I don't know. What did happen to it?
Yeah, they decided not to pursue it because of the elections, because it would look bad. So maybe they'll do it after.
Maybe they will.
My gosh.
Obama has vetoed only 2 bills during his first 6 years in office, the fewest since President James Garfield's brief 1-year tenure. Obamacare, of course, the Republican Holy Grail, is a bill that repeals the Affordable Care Act. Will see its best chance for passage next year. But while there will likely be a full vote in the Senate to repeal the entire health care law, aides said the overall GOP strategy will likely be to chip away at parts of the law in bills that would make it to the president's desk.
Maybe they should actually come up with a bill of their own to help people with insurance, but in 5 years, we've never seen one.
A full repeal bill would certainly prompt a presidential veto. One item Republican House and Senate aides think is likely to make it to Obama's desk and potentially get his signature is a bill to repeal Obamacare's tax on medical devices. A similar amendment championed by Senator Orrin Hatch of Utah, who's in line to become the next chair of the Senate Finance Committee, passed by a 79-20 vote in 2013. Moving along here for the sake of time, foreign policy, one of the GOP's first orders of business, may well be mounting a united front to oppose any Obama administration-led deal on Iran's nuclear program. Such a move would win the backing of a decent amount of Democrats. Such a move could well become the first of many intense fights set for a lame duck session of Congress. And then there's trade. This is kind of an interesting story on trade. A GOP Senate could also help jumpstart a key part of Obama's foreign policy agenda, where he has run into a roadblock from his own party. The big obstacle to Obama's ambitious trade agenda has so far been Harry Reid. Obama needs Congress to pass a special authority for him to fast-track certain trade deals that Congress can either accept or reject but cannot change. Reid has not allowed a vote on fast-track legislation, and Democrats generally fear expanded trade could cost American jobs and have a negative effect on global wages. But Obama has long advocated a pair of trade agreements with the European Union and nations in Asia, saying they will create millions of jobs through a vast expansion of U.S. exports. Republican aides told Business Insider that they are open to working with Obama to get fast-track legislation. Another one, and probably one of the biggest, is immigration. A coming Republican Senate would also make Obama more likely to take executive action quickly on immigration, something he delayed until after the elections. The only question at this point is when and not if. Many analysts expect Obama to announce his executive action before Thanksgiving. Obama's actions will likely face heavy pushback from Senator Chuck Grassley from Iowa, the likely next chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and Senator Jeff Sessions of Alabama, who will likely take over as chair of the Senate Budget Committee in a GOP Senate. Any executive action would effectively poison the well for any legislative fix to the nation's immigration system until after Obama leaves office. The legislation passed by the Senate in 2013 expires with the end of this Congress in early January. Taxes, there's the ever-ambiguous issue of tax reform, which has been floating around Washington for all of Obama's term. It will figure even more prominently next year, as it will be a priority for Republicans who think a revamp of the corporate tax code is essential to boosting economic growth.
Yeah, ask Sam Brownback how's that working in Kansas for him.
Court appointments, a significant part of Obama's legacy rests on judicial nominees he can appoint to courts, which will determine the constitutionality of his administration's policies, regulations, and executive actions long after he leaves office. So the more liberal judges he can get appointed, the longer his legacy will live. So we'll see how that turns out. So anyway, that's kind of a snapshot of maybe what to expect now that we'll have a Republican-dominated Congress.
Because they were so willing to work with him before. Let's elect the same guys in there to block the same things
Harry
that they
Reid said himself now that he's not going to be the majority leader anymore. Oh, well, I'm looking forward to working with Congress.
We've always worked with their side. They've not worked with ours.
Here's Huckabee. And you can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you exclusively by Waddell & Reed. Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger are the financial advisors. And the number is 736-6563. We haven't talked yet today about the Lowen Honey Loader from Stanley & Company.
No, we haven't,
Kelly. You want to see one operate? Get a hold of Pat Hartzell. He can fix that up for you.
I want to see how fast you can scoop it compared to the honey loader.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Working with you in here, sometimes I have to scoop it a lot. Pretty fast.
Let's prove it, buddy. Put your money where your mouth is.
The Lowen Honey Loader, available at Stanley & Company. If you want to see one in operation, get a hold of Pat Hartzell, 280-1167, and he can fix you up. And if you're interested in buying one, he can do that too. Pat's the guy. He's the go-to guy at Stanley & Company. You got anything that you need at all on the face of the planet from Stanley & Company, Pat Hartzell, 280-1167. And if he's not the right guy, he can steer you in the right direction.
He can.
Well, here we are, day after the election. It's Wednesday. Another show is in the bag. Tomorrow, who do we have?
Well, Kelly, thank you for asking. We have Erica Littlefield from the Twin Falls Public Library. They're doing some kind of a fundraiser, Dessert in the Stacks.
Oh,
so
food is involved.
Yeah, and
my
dessert.
ears are perking.
No dessert, no less, Kelly.
Yes, life is uncertain.
Read
eat
a book
dessert first
and eat a cookie.
Yeah.
Cops And then we have Heidi Walker from Hospice. I guess it's Hospice Month.
Yep.
So
All
there
right.
you go. And then we're open after that.
So now tomorrow will be the Idaho State Police, because, right?
Well,
It's
it always
first
just
Thursday.
generically says cops, but yes, it should be the Idaho State Police. I mean, that's just to change all of it every month would be difficult to do.
Oh, when?
Well, why don't you do that in your spare time, Cal?
Well, I don't have any spare time.
Yeah.
You, on the other hand, have nothing but spare
Right,
time.
exactly. I have nothing to
Actually, you are a busy lady. I know.
I'm busy.
You do so many things. And now you're on a city committee, the co-chair of the city committee.
Yeah.
Man.
Get involved, people. Get involved.
We're going to have to widen that door so you can get your head through here.
And today I'm going to go to the Planning and Zoning Working Lunch. They had an issue, and we're looking at it, and they're changing their codes and going to, the language, and helped.
You're getting involved.
Why not? You have to get involved.
Absolutely.
Don't just sit there and complain.
I agree. I totally agree.
Get involved,
Jill.
people.
You're to be commended for getting involved.
Well, some people fault me for it.
Being part of the solution instead of part of the problem. If they're faulting you for it,
it's their problem.
Then they are dumb idiots.
They are.
Okay?
And I'm also planning Death by Chocolate. If you want to be a Death by Chocolate sponsor, please contact me. Jill.scheme@townsquaremedia.com.
That's coming up in February.
Thursday, the last Thursday of the month in January. Thursday, January 29th, our 10th annual.
Wow. Amazing.
We have a Best in Show award now, first time ever.
Oh, very
For
cool.
a sponsorship.
All right. Well, I'm sure we'll hear more about that as the time gets
think?
closer. Hey, thanks for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow. See you, Jill.
Bye, Cal.